Just over 3 months ago, a chaotic scene unfolded on State Highway 14 near Ridgecrest when a man who was detained by police hijacked the very police car he was being held in. After a lengthy pursuit involving multiple law enforcement agencies, that man was finally apprehended once again.
Now the suspect has an upcoming mental competency hearing on August 11th. 17's Jacob Clark has been following this story for months, has compiled the timeline of the events in this report, The Ridgecrest Runner.
The southeastern base of the Sierra Nevada and deep in the upper Mojave Desert lies the city of Ridgecrest. It was almost midnight on April 18th when police dispatchers received a call for a public disturbance. It was an ordinary night. They followed ordinary procedure. Officers were quick to the scene. That's where they found their suspect.
At the time he was initially taken into custody on the 18th, he did resist arrest. And at that time, it took multiple officers to get him properly detained. An ambulance came where they had to sedate him because he was so uncooperative. He was sedated for the trip to the hospital.
Officers recognized him as a regular troublemaker, 41-year-old Julian Decay Harper.
They determined that he was under the influence of drugs. In this case, we believe, based on the way he was behaving, he was under the influence of PCP.
PCP, or phencyclidine, is an intense hallucinogen.
It was actually created in the 1920s and used for both human and veterinary care as a anesthetic. And there were so many complications from it, it eventually was just used in veterinary medicine. In about the 1960s is when we really saw it first being used as an illicit substance.
A PCP episode can cause severe brain dysfunction, including detachment from reality and psychosis.
Because of its stimulant properties, you do get, elevated heart rate, elevated blood pressure. You can have erratic behavior. It is a dissociative drug, so it actually alters your perception of reality.
Its effects have been the root of some infamous Kern County criminal cases. A 4-year-old in 2009 named Angelo Mendoza Jr. was mutilated, bitten, and blinded by his father who used the drug. Famously, he simply told investigators, "Daddy ate my eyes out."
It is a substance that, changes the neurochemicals in the brains, and it gives somebody, it alters their behavior and usually makes them more aggressive. So it definitely, that person's really not in their normal state of mind. And so it's, it's kind of taken them over and given them a different perception of reality.
In Ridgecrest, Harper's PCP episode wasn't nearly as intense as that, yet.
People have highs and lows while they're on PCP. At the time of his arrest on the 18th, he was at a low where he was fairly cooperative, though nonverbal and just kind of staring off into the distance.
Now he was in custody, but Ridegcrest PD had a problem, detaining him. The lack of adequate jail space or holding cells for criminals has long plagued Kern County's desert communities.
We don't have a jail in Ridgecrest. The nearest one is in Mojave, and then Lerdo and Bakersfield. Given the fact that he had been under the influence of PCP, he wouldn't have been able to be booked even at the jail in Ridgecrest if we still had one, nor in Mojave because they don't have nursing services.
With no medical staff, proper kitchen, or resources to detain him long term, the decision was made to transfer Harper to Lerdo Jail in Bakersfield. Another man held on an unrelated charge was to be transported in the same car. It's a 2-hour drive between Ridgecrest and Lerdo, but it only took minutes for the ride to take a turn for the worse.
Partway through that transport, he started to assault the other passenger in the vehicle. The officer who was doing the transport immediately pulled over because we have an obligation to protect anybody in our custody from even foreseeable harm. So our officer wanted to separate Harper from the other person who was arrested. In doing so, a struggle ensued with the officer and Harper. At one point, the officer used his taser and his baton to attempt to subdue Harper. But if you know anything about PCP, these folks can feel limited pain and not respond to pain. There's no reaction to the taser or the baton use. As the struggle continued, Harper headbutted our officer, causing our officer to fall backward.
A taser, a baton, and brute force were ineffective. Harper had made himself a free man.
In that time when the officer was attempting to get up, Harper was able to make it into the front seat of the vehicle and flee the scene. Fortunately, the other arrestee was able to get out of the vehicle and remain at the original scene with the officer. Our officer immediately notified dispatch of what had transpired. We sent officers from Ridgecrest with lights and sirens out to the original location, as well as notifying our partners from the Kern County Sheriff's Department and the California Highway Patrol.
Harper escapes in the very car he was detained in. In a matter of seconds, local, county, and state agencies were scrambled to coordinate the apprehension of Julian Harper.
And the Kern County Sheriff's Department quickly located it traveling southbound on Highway 14. The Sheriff's Department engaged in a short pursuit, which lasted until, I think, about 6 miles south of Mojave.
That initial pursuit, though, was short.
Harper crashed into an uninvolved vehicle while traveling down Highway 14, causing moderate damage to the vehicle. Those folks were transported with complaints of pain to a local hospital.
Harper crashed the police car, injuring a family on the road. However, these $80,000 police vehicles are durable. They're built to last. The Ridgecrest runner wasn't done yet.
Harper was able to continue to drive the vehicle, although the left front end was severely damaged, about another mile or mile and a half down the freeway, where he spent some time driving in the dirt median before striking a guardrail with the other side of the vehicle, damaging the other front wheel and making the vehicle inoperable.
Finally, a guardrail was the stolen car's lethal blow. The roadside rampage was over. However, Harper didn't go out without a fight.
Once there, Harper continued to fail following instructions from the officers on scene, the deputies and the officers. They tried several things. They tried the taser. They tried less lethal 40 millimeter sponge rounds. They tried pepper spray. None of that had any effect on Harper because of his influence under what we believe was PCP, which is consistent with that behavior.
Using every tool short of lethal force, Harper was still dangerous. At last, he was forcibly removed from the vehicle and taken into custody in Lerdo jail. This isn't his first time, however. Julian Harper has been a thorn in the side of the Ridgecrest Police Department for nearly a quarter century.
We've had extensive contacts with Harper in Ridgecrest, which is the result of some of the charges that got him initially arrested and put him on what's called a cruise waiver. What a cruise waiver means is he pled guilty to robbery, false imprisonment, domestic violence, and a few other charges with the district attorney's office.
He was found guilty of burglary in October of 2003. He pleaded no contest to making criminal threats in 2009, as well as no contest to false imprisonment in 2015. Just 2 years ago, he also pled no contest in evading a peace officer and intentionally driving the wrong way. He pled no contest to misdemeanor battery on a peace officer or emergency personnel and robbery as recently as April. However, he obtained the aforementioned cruise waiver. By signing this, a defendant agrees that if they fail to appear for sentencing or violate conditions, the judge can impose a harsher sentence than the original plea deal.
In this case, Harper was looking at 35 years to life in prison. The cruise waivers, I understand why they exist. There's a place for them. His reason for wanting a cruise waiver was an ill relative that he wanted to spend time with. But those waivers, as we've experienced in the past, can be dangerous for responding officers and the community, because these people know that they have a significant exposure to more prison time.
If you're a dope fiend and you want dope, or you're just basically generally a criminal idiot, I just got to get back out. I got to see my old lady. You know, these guys, I haven't had a job in 10 years, but I'm going to get work, so set up my old lady. If you let them do the thinking when they haven't done good thinking for a long time, they're going to fail. So really, this is more often than not an opportunity for somebody to make a mistake and then to be punished extraordinarily for that. Then there are other instances where you go out and commit a brand new crime that justifies its own punishment and maybe a new level of stupidity.
While a cruise waiver helps to keep him out of jail, it wouldn't repair the charges he's collecting when hijacking the car.
So they know if they commit another crime, really, what do they have to lose? In his case, he's 41, looking at a minimum of 35 years. He's 76 before he gets out of prison. why not fight or run? I understand, why these cruise waivers exist, but they create some challenges for us, and this is one of those instances.
With a potential lifetime in prison ahead of him, Harper left a trail of destruction in his wake. Ridegcrest PD confirmed the family struck by Harper was released from the hospital with minor injuries, as well as his fellow detainee in that stolen police car. And as for the police officer initially behind the wheel,
He was also treated and released at the hospital. He's okay. Honestly, he's mostly embarrassed. It's not every day we get a police car stolen. It's not something we try to do, but in this instance, we recognize that police work is dynamic and evolves in a matter of seconds and fractions of seconds. What we will do as an agency is look at policy, procedure, training, things of that nature, and figure out, even if only incrementally, what can we do to try to prevent this in the future.
one officer told 17 News that in 2 decades with the Ridegcrest police, nothing like Harper's escape had ever happened, nor had he seen anything like it before. Careful coordination between agencies and some genuine luck is what brought Harper back into custody, leaving behind a trail of destruction and injury to both officers and civilians. Julian Harper's getaway in the stolen police car he was held in will be an interesting footnote in the history of Kern County law enforcement. Jacob Clark, 17 News.